Hey ladies, we are focusing in on Proverbs 31 today. And I'm really looking forward to sharing this personal story about a lie that I believed about the Proverbs 31 woman for a long time. So it was about 10 or 11 years ago when I was in my first Bible study, and we came to Proverbs 31 one week. And I saw verse 17. It says, "She is energetic and strong, a hard worker. She watches for bargains, and her lamp burns late into the night." And I was, in a good mood that night, very talkative, and I said, that's me. Like, I love to work out, and I love shopping, bargain shopping, and I stay up late all the time finishing my stuff for school. I was in college at the time. And one of the girls there, she did not mean this in any way to harm me, but she said, "Did you read the rest of the passage?" And I was like, "Yeah." But this really left this sense of, wow, I'm really not the Proverbs 31 woman. Like, this woman must be unattainable if you really have to do all of these things that she does to measure up to a virtuous woman who's worth more than rubies. And so just had that mindset. I just believed those lies for so many years that, like, if I didn't sew, if I didn't work outside the home, if I didn't create my own business, that I was not going to measure up to this woman whose worth was more than rubies and whose husband praised her and valued her that much. And what I want us to have freedom from today is that we need to look at the heart of this passage. And we can see the heart of it if we look at the beginning and if we look at the end of the passage. And I think this really makes sense from a literary standpoint, that when we're writing a passage, when we're writing any kind of work, we start at the beginning laying the foundation of, you've got your main sentence at the beginning, and then you've got your details in the middle, and then at the end, you've got this powerful closing summary at the end of whatever passage you're writing that summarizes the most important points of the whole work. And so if we look at the beginning, this is actually an acrostic poem. I was just telling my girls this morning that about this passage, and I said, this passage is written by a mom. So I told them if I was writing this about Sam, my son, I would be writing to him about these qualities that I wanted him to look for in a wife. And I would start at the letter A in the English alphabet, and I would go down listing qualities that I thought would be good for him to look for in a wife. So I would start with, like, A, that she would have a good attitude. B, that she believes in Jesus. C, that she would cook for him because I know him and he's going to want a woman that cooks. And so anyways, that was just the way that I explained to my girls how this passage was set up. This passage was written by a mother of King Lemuel, who was she took the Hebrew alphabet and she put a quality with each letter of that alphabet to challenge him to look for a wife who had these qualities. And the very at the beginning of that passage, she says, who can find a virtuous? And that word virtuous means strength, the strength of an army, a virtuous and capable wife. She is worth more than precious rubies. And then it goes on to list all of these details about a wife who has these qualities that are more precious than rubies. And the heart of the matter is, this woman wakes up every morning to serve her family. And I want to just challenge you to know that, you don't have to own a sewing machine. You don't have to create your own business and be an entrepreneur to be this woman who's worth more than precious rubies to her family, because God made you different than He made me. And I remember one time, several years ago, when I got a sewing machine because some of my friends were starting to sew their own curtains and their houses were just looking so pretty and they had all this handmade stuff in it, and it was a nightmare. I mean, yeah, I had a sewing machine and I tried, but it was a nightmare. There's no way I'm ever getting close to a sewing machine again, and that's okay. And I'm still worth more than precious rubies to my husband, even though I don't sew our own curtains. Because that's not what God had planned for me to do right now in this season of my life. I've got my hands full. I've got 3 kids that I'm homeschooling, and I've got, a house to maintain, and I've got 4 hungry mouths that I'm going to feed. And so that's just not something that I'm going to be doing right now, trying to make my own homemade goods around the house. Now, later on in life, when my kids are grown and, hopefully I'll be a grandmother, then maybe I will go back to trying to make some homemade things when I have some of my time freed up. So that wouldn't be a wise use of my time and my energy and my resources right now. And then I just wanted to close off our discussion about this, looking at the last couple of sentences of this passage, because just like we talked about, when you're writing, and even when you're reading something, you know that the last closing statements are a summary of the most important things that have been written in the passage. And so in verse 30, it says, "Charm is deceptive, and beauty does not last, but a woman who fears the Lord is to be praised. Reward her for all she has done. Let her deeds publicly praise her." And that word fears the Lord. The word fear is a word that actually does mean to fear the Lord. It means to reverence him. And a definition for reverence is to have a healthy fear of God, to regard him with deep respect. And so we can be reminded that everything that we do for our families is in respect and reverence for the Lord. And I just want to challenge us to think about the fact that every day when we wake up in the morning, if we walk with Jesus, it says in John 15 that he is the vine and we are the branches. If we remain in him and he in us, then we will bear much fruit, and that we can do nothing apart from him. So all we have to do, and here's where our true freedom is in relation to Proverbs 31, all we have to do is wake up every morning and ask Jesus to help us to stay abiding in him, to stay connected to him in prayer, to stay connected to him in his word, and ask him every step we take how we can serve our husbands and our families. And he is going to be faithful, and he is going to be the one who's bearing that fruit through us. Just like we learned about the blessing table and his love pouring through us onto our family, that the only way that we are ever going to fulfill all the plans that he has for us, including the plans of serving our husband and families, are just abiding in him. So I hope that you can find some freedom. If you've ever felt like you've been in bondage, that you're never going to measure up to the Proverbs 31 woman, that's a lie, that you are fearfully and wonderfully made, and that if you continue to walk with Jesus, you are going to be that wife that is more precious than rubies to her husband, and who does him good and not harm all the days of her life. So just depend on Jesus, stay connected to him, and you will fulfill all of these qualities that your husband needs, or that will bless him, and that your children need to be blessed. All right, bye.